the Immaculate Conception is a dogma. It's what the church calls a dogma. It's one of those religious words that everybody gets afraid of when they hear the word dogma, like something really strict and terrible is going to happen. But it's just a word that means teaching. And a dogma is a saving truth. It's a truth that the church asks us to embrace because it's a saving truth. It will save something about our lives. It will save us from trouble. It will save our hearts, our true hearts. If we embrace the dogmas, the saving truths of the church, they will save something in our lives. And so we all have this experience of saving truths, besides the official ones that the church gives to us. So we have them in our culture. We have our little saving truths that are passed on to save us trouble. Look before you leap. Pride goes before a fall. There's more than meets the eye. There are thousands of them. They're little saving truths that our culture has put into words so that they can protect us from trouble in life. And then we also, by living, we come up with our own personal ones. And so one of my favorite ones that I've said to Kevin more times than probably he wishes is that this is one of the most truthful, saving truths of my life. You can never get it right the first time, but you can get it better the second time. And that will save you a lot of trouble in life, because it says it's okay to make mistakes, because otherwise we get afraid to make mistakes. And it's an incredibly important saving truth. It will save young people so much heartache if you take that truth and embrace it. Because as a young person, you have to make mistakes because you're doing all kinds of stuff for the first time. And you're not going to get it right the first time. You're going to make mistakes, but that will be the only way to learn. And you won't have to beat yourself up so bad for the mistakes, because that's one of the dangers of a teenager, is that they're making so much mistakes that they just focus on all they can see are their mistakes, and they begin to get really discouraged about themselves. It's a saving truth that will save us, save something out of our lives from a great deal of trouble. Jesus, there are even some that are a little bit humorous, actually, before we get to Jesus. There are some saving truths I like that are worth a pretty good laugh. Dostoevsky said that we should call ourselves a fool at least once a month. And then he said, but it's been a year. I'm overdue. It's time. I thought that was pretty funny. There are religious ones. It doesn't matter so much who God is like. It matters who are we going to be like when we get into God. That's a really good saying. We tend to focus all on what's God going to, no, what are we going to be like if we really get into God? What are we going to become? That's a very good saving truth, to focus on that. And Jesus, of course, has many, many of them. One of the most difficult, simple, but maybe difficult, is, to put it in different words, it is better to suffer evil than to do evil. That's how Jesus lived, and that's what Jesus taught. And it doesn't mean to just become a punching bag for everybody, because we have the right to protect ourselves if we're being self-defense, the right of self-defense. But what it seems to, the teaching of Jesus seems to be that if we are put into a place where the only choice is to do evil or to suffer evil, it is better to suffer it. That's a tough saying of Jesus, but it is in fact how Jesus lived. And it is a saving truth of Jesus, that if we will live by that, it will save us from something. And one of the things it will save us from is thinking that our death, a physical death, is the worst thing that can happen to us, when it's really not. It's really a spiritual death that is the worst. And the reason that Jesus says it is better to suffer evil than to do it is because to do something has a double effect. It not only does evil, it makes us an evil person. If we steal all the time, it makes us into a thief. If we lie all the time, it makes us into a liar. If we do evil all the time, it makes us into an evil person. And so Jesus has given us this wonderful saving truth. If we follow it, it will save our souls from thinking that if we just save our skin, that's all we need to do. That's not the same thing as saving our souls. So that's a saving truth of Jesus. And here we come to the Immaculate Conception, which is a saving truth of the church, that Mary was conceived without the stain of original sin. And so that means there's something about that truth that is saving. It will save us for something. What does it save us from? What does that save us from? I think one of the things it can save us from is that it can save us from the voice of original sin. Because the voice of original sin still speaks to us. The voice of original sin is when we have a statement and then we add on to it, and that's just the way it is. And that's just the way it is. So, this is here's a good voice of original sin. My desire for a deeper and richer life, my desire to follow a pathway to find a deeper and richer life is just illusion. And that's just the way it is. That's the voice of original sin. The battle, men and women, it's just the battle of the sexes, and there's nothing that you can do about it. It will just go on forever. And that's just the way it is. Voice of original sin. In our gospel, it says, nothing is impossible for God. We hear these kind of voices all the time in our culture. People are prejudiced. It's just human nature, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's just the way it is. That's the voice of original sin. It's when we have statements of hopelessness and that says there are things impossible that God cannot do, and we just tack on, and that's the way it's always going to. That's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. God can't do anything about it. We can't do anything about it. And so, if we believing that Mary was set free, protected from the stain of original sin, one of the things that we believe is that her human nature was transformed. And that's one of the lies. That's one of the voices of original sin. It says human nature can't change. And that is just the way it is. Now, where does that leave us in life? Human nature can't change, and that is just the way it is. And we just sink into the lowest point in life, and we just hang out there until it's over. And we have the comforts of our very postmodern civilization. We just hope to get wealthy enough to have a nice car and hopefully a TV that's about as big as one of the walls in our room, in our house, and a place that we can kind of, after we go to work, to get some money to go to work, to get some money to go to work, to get some money, we can come home and we can watch TV, and then we can get, what would be really important is to get a membership at a club so that we can work out, so we can stay healthy enough to stave off death as long as we can while we watch the TV until it's over. And that's all there is. And so believing in the Immaculate Conception, embracing the truth of the Immaculate Conception, that human nature can be changed, that it was transformed in Mary, and that's just a picture of the transformation that God wants for us. That can save us from the worst it's this little, dirty little secret about postmodern life, the emptiness, the incredible emptiness of it, as we try to stay healthy and entertained until the inevitable end of it. And that's all there is. What an incredible, crushing emptiness. And so to believe in the saving truths of the church saves us from meaninglessness. It saves us from that voice that says, that's all there is. But in our gospel, it says that nothing is impossible for God. And so let us come to this altar and celebrate. Let us embrace the Immaculate Conception, the saving truth of the Immaculate Conception, that it says to us that the transformation of human nature is not impossible. It is possible with the grace of God. And so let us come and embrace that. Make that part of our hearts, because that can put a heart back into our lives.